Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. We're back with the fourth instalment of our golf content, and it's our first major since we've been covering the golf with the US PGA Championships. I've got the main man, Pieman Hill, with me. It's the second golfing major of 2021. Different order than what it used to be, Pieman. And we're going to Kiawah Island in South Carolina. Last hosted this event in 2012, where a young Rory McIlroy absolutely demolished the field. Firstly, as always, we're going to talk through the course, which is a pretty unique one. And then we're going to go through Pieman's betting selections, and then we'll do a quick wrap up of where the best value is. So, Pieman, talk to me about the course at Kiawah Island.
Cheers, Adam. Nicely set up. And this is a very, very important course to assess before we go any further, because it's a major championship. Now, you've got the Masters, which is always at Augusta, and people are very familiar with that. The Open has a rotational policy of sort of 6, 7, 8 courses that it sort of goes around on a rota. And this is very much the same, the USPGA. So, as you quite rightly say, we were last at Kiawah Island all the way back in 2012. And I was watching the footage of that tournament the other day, trying to get a few pointers for the course. And Rory McIlroy, 23 at the time, looked like a baby as he just spanked the field by 8 shots. But Kiawah Island, they're playing on the Ocean Course, and it's called the Ocean Course for a good reason. It's set on a beautiful part of the South Carolina coast with the Atlantic Ocean literally to the right of the course. So you're right bang on the seafront. The course has actually been elevated up the way. So they did groundwork to elevate this course to make sure that the people playing it had an excellent view of the sea. So it's a really nice picturesque course. But what that has done is it's made it extremely vulnerable to the elements. Now, if we look back to this 2012 running, you see the flip side. You see both sides of the coin with Kiawah. On 3 of the 4 days, scoring was okay. I wouldn't say free scoring. It wasn't a shootout, but it was, if you played well, there were birdies to be had. Now, day 2 was one of the most brutal days we've ever seen in golf in terms of a major. Day 2 at Kiawah, we had rain, wind, and thunderstorms. And the average score that day was 78.8, which is sort of 7 over par was an average score that day. So, absolutely brutal. And it was a case of just hanging in there, to be honest. I think there was 2 players that managed to post a score under par on that day too, and it was Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods. So that tells you, the level that was required on that day just to even hang in the tournament. As it was, McIlroy sort of powered away on the last day. It was a funny one, really. It didn't really look like he was going to run away with it until about 6 holes into the final round, and then it was very quickly done and dusted. It wasn't a really strong leaderboard in behind him. There wasn't a lot of contenders. One thing I definitely took away from it, only 3 of the top 10 that year were Americans, which is very interesting because in America, you would generally expect the Americans to hold some kind of advantage. However, very much not the case at Kiawah, in my opinion. This course is so exposed to the elements. It's a little bit like a links course in the UK. Very wide fairways, a lot of wind to contend with, a lot of rain to contend with. So not really a typical American course of sharp dog legs and accuracy test. And you've really got to grind it out here, and you've got to make advantage of make your hay when you can almost. If you have a good bit of weather and you have a nice little bit of hot streak, you've got to make your birdies there. And then you've also got to be able to hang in when the going gets tough a little bit. So this is a proper test. I'm really looking forward to this. These courses that we've had in the last few weeks have not been a patch on this. I think it's going to be really good to watch. And you'll be glad to know that I'm going really low down the market in this one. Yes, you can make a case for all of these big boys, but I think there's value to be had here. There's a set checklist that I'm coming into this week with, and I will just run you through a couple of things that I'm looking for. As I mentioned, I think the weather is going to play a massive part. I've had a look at the early weather forecast. We're only on Monday night at the moment, so things could change. However, it looks like there's going to be enough wind around for 3 of the 4 days for this to be challenging. So I want a player that I know can play well in wind and tough conditions. That's my main thing that I'm looking for. There's a bit of a trend with the USPGA Championships, a recent trend of players who've had a win fairly recently or contended fairly recently going on to win this. So I want a player that has shown some signs of life in the last couple of months, be it at one tournament. It doesn't need to be every week, but I just want to see them sort of contending. And I'm seeing a lot of people saying that you need to be a bomber to do well at this course. You need to be driving it a long way. Now, that's because it is the longest course ever to host a major, 7,800 yards. This is the longest ever course. So there's an assumption going on there that you need to be a big hitter to win this. Well, let me tell you, when that wind gets up, your strength is taken out of the equation. You can have 7 or 8 clubs difference in any given shot, purely dependent on what the wind is doing. So, one day you might play it with a 9 iron, the next day you need a 3 iron, a 4 iron. It really can be, the course can change on the flip of a coin. So I'm not worried about a big hitters. I just want solid players that I know can handle the conditions. I know that they've been in the mix to win recently. And yeah, I'm looking at strokes gained off the tee, but I'm more looking for a rounded player this week. So that's what my thinking's been on the course.
Hi, man. Just before I run through the market, I'm going to just concentrate solely, give a shout out to the man at the top of the market, Rory McIlroy. Fits the bill as a recent winner on the tour. You said he's been going through some right difficulty in his games. Just touching on his performance last week, how significant is that? And, obviously good to see him back to in form.
This is what we would call a comfort course for Rory McIlroy. He's had previous success there. He's got good memories of this course. He's openly said that he likes the layout. That he can handle the tough conditions. His driving is an advantage, although not as big as I think it is. But, you can't dispute it. He's been here once. He won by 8 shots. He's a very worthy favourite. He would have been someone that would have interested me if he hadn't won so recently, because I think he would have been out maybe towards 18-20 as opposed to the 12-11-10 you're going to get now. He's a very worthy favourite now, but I couldn't be having a favourite in these weather conditions. And this is the same Rory McIlroy that, racked up 4 majors very quickly and has not added to them for a long time. There's a real sense of unfulfilled potential on a major stage for McIlroy. I'd be delighted to see him carry that form over, but let's not forget either, he only won at Wells Fargo by a shot. It's not like he was absolutely blowing the field to pieces. I still don't think he's quite there. He said he was surprised how soon he was able to win after the changes he's made with his swing coach and stuff. He still felt like there was a long way to go. I expect a strong week from Rory McIlroy. Do I think he's one to get involved with at 10-1? I'm not so sure.
Right, I'm going to run you through the market, Pine Man. There is a certain supplier on Oddschecker that are only 5 places, so hence their prices are the biggest on most of these to win. So I'm going to take the ones, the biggest prices that are offering proper place terms, like 8, 9, 10, or even 11. You can get 11 places each way, which we'll come on to later. So we've got McIlroy in there at 11-1. John Rahm is 14. We've got Spieth 16, DeChambeau 16, Justin Thomas 16, Dustin Johnson's 18, Xander Schauffele's 22, Victor Hovland's 22. So all the normal usual names that we're used to seeing. We've got Patrick Reed in there 35, Daniel Berger 35. Matsuyama, recent major winner himself at 40, etc., etc. And we're going a bit further down for some of your selections, I believe, Pieman. How many this week, Pieman? Usually you've been putting up 2.5, 3.
I'm putting up 4 this week, and I'll give you a good reason for that. I'm putting up 4 because it's a major. As you mentioned, you're getting a real range of place terms. And my approach to this week has been to find that place value. And try and find players that I also think are capable of winning if they get in the position. Obviously, everyone further down the market comes with a caveat, but I've narrowed it down to 4 that I like at the big prices. I fully expect, we need one of them to get in the place to be finishing ahead. And we've got 10 or 11 places up for grabs. So I'll be looking to get 2 or 3 of these lads through the cut at the halfway stage, and then we'll just see. But I've got my reasoning for all of them. It's similar reasoning for all 4 of them, I'll be fair. Just a quick mention to the top of the market. If I had a gun to my head at the prices, I'd be interested still in Victor Hovland. He's a player that I put up a couple of weeks ago, and he finished in the place. He's tied 3rd. It needs to all come together for Hovland. He's got the game, and he's a perfect fit for this course as well. I mean, there's a lot to like about him, and he's probably got the game of a big player. But he hasn't won that big event yet. So he's still 20-something rather than 14, 12. You guarantee after he gets his first breakthrough win, he'll be basically 2nd or 3rd favourite for a period, because that's just how the market reacts. So, yeah, there is an element of you're catching Hovland at a price you might not catch him at again for some time when he gets that win. But, yeah, as I say, I want to go lower down the market. So I guess maybe just dive straight in with the
selection number 1, please, Pieman.
Okay, selection number 1 is an Englishman. It'd be a very popular winner on this island. It's Matt Fitzpatrick, 50-1, 11 places. As you say, with all of these, there is slightly bigger prices available, but I'm choosing the balance. It's striking a balance with your place market. I mean, you want the maximum places in some cases, but if there's a 20 or 30 point differential for the sake of a couple of places, you may lean more towards the bigger price. And 3 of these I've took the maximum places. 1 of them I haven't because I felt the price was a bit more value. So just shop around, each to your own. What I would say is with these big price players, generally favours to keep the places on side. You'll often sneak an 8th or a 9th that'll get you the same as a second. So don't turn your nose up at extra places. But yeah, Matt Fitzpatrick. Most golf fans are only too aware this lad has the game to win major championships. He's a really, really class act. Diminutive Englishman, not what you would say your typical golfer in this day and age. Not a big 6 foot something athlete, who bombs the ball. He's quite a slight fella, very skillful, but he can still hit it. Don't be under any illusions. This lad's still got driving. I wouldn't have any concerns with Fitzpatrick's driving distance on this course. I think he'll be absolutely fine at Kiawah. He's shown a liking for wind play. He's a very solid player when the going gets tough. And as I say, that's a big thing for me this week. His current form is very good. Coming into the Heritage, he'd actually finished in the 18th or better in 7 of his previous 9 events. Now, I'm putting a line through last week. I didn't like last week's event at all. It was a shootout, as I feared it may be in the preview. It just turned into, ridiculous, almost a birdie every hole. I think they won it with 25 under. Not my kind of party, that at all. And, if they stay at that course, it won't be one for me next year. But, that doesn't suit Fitzpatrick's game at all. He's a grinder. He's someone who can make shots when others are struggling to make shots. So I think if the wind gets up, Matt Fitzpatrick can really put himself into a good position here. It's all about the start for Matt Fitzpatrick. So often in majors, he's just started so poorly. He's given himself too much to do, and you'll often find him sneaking up the leaderboard day 3, day 4, and just missing out on the places. And you think that's a shame, if he just got going a bit earlier. A lot of people have said over the years, this lad is going to win a major. It's just when this could be the perfect time for him because I've spoken about the advantage of non-Americans. 7 of the top 10 last time were non-Americans. It's got that links feel to it. So it's almost a little bit like an Open Championship rather than a USPGA, which would suit Fitzpatrick down to the ground. His form is good, but it's under the radar good in a way that you still get the price that you maybe wouldn't have if he popped up and won or got a second. He'd probably be 10 points shorter. I think money will come late for him because he's a popular lad. I'm very happy to set 50-1, 11 places. I think he's a really good place runner.
Good. That's selection number 1. Selection number 2, Pieman.
Same price, same amount of places. Joaquin Niemann, the Chilean, he's another favourite of mine. This is a guy that I think's been forgotten about a bit recently. He had a very hot January where he had back-to-back second-place finishes. One of those was in exceptional windy conditions at Kapalua, where he very nearly won. I was very impressed with him. Hard to know what to make of a Chilean golfer. You don't get many of them, there's not really a lot to compare him off. He's been playing on the PGA Tour for a couple of years now. He's still a youngster, Niemann. He's competed with huge fields. He can go toe-to-toe with the very best of them. I think... maybe his results don't reflect where he's at. A little bit similar to Fitzpatrick. I think he's playing a little bit than the bare form suggests. I was having a look into his underlying statistics earlier. He's actually gained 9 strokes off the tee on the field in his last 12 rounds. So over the last 3 tournaments, his ball striking is the equivalent of 9 shots better than your average tour golfer. So he really is hitting the ball well. And that kind of indicates a little bit like XG in football, the underlying statistic that, they lost 1-0, but they battered them. That kind of angle. I think Niemann's playing a little bit better than the results give him credit for. He's shown a real liking for Pete Dye courses. This is a Pete Dye design. So Pete Dye designs, probably about a third of the courses we see on the PGA Tour. And there are trends for his courses. Certain players seem to enjoy his layout more than others. Niemann's definitely one of them. I think he's off the radar. I think he's playing well. And again, 50-1, I think it's a really lively place chance with a genuine win opportunity as well.
So 2 down, 2 to go, Pieman. We're into the really juicy prices here. This is what people tune in for. Selection number 3, please, Mr. Pieman.
Well, we'll get one of these at some point, I guarantee it. And, this could be the one. Siwoo Kim for me, 110 to 1. I've gone 8 places at 365. Now, the same supplier doing the 11 places at 80 to 1. I just thought the 30-point margin. 70. Well, there you go. There you go. Someone's already took advantage of that, and fair play to you. But I'm more than happy. The 8 places, 110. I think we're still getting good value there. I don't expect that price to last too long. So if you see it, maybe take it if you fancy it. This is a man who's won the Players' Championship, won it a couple of years ago. He's got a fantastic all-round game. His ball striking is to die for. I love watching Siwoo Kim when he's playing well. He's just, he's a real, a unique character, shall we say. He plays very much within himself. Like, you feel like someone could bang a balloon behind his head and he wouldn't flinch. He's just one of these. Sometimes I'm not sure he's really with it. But I really like him. I think he's a really likable fella, and I can't believe he's 3 figures. I mean, he's a former champion. I'm trying to work out why he's 3 figures. He's not in bad form. He won the Amex in January, and that was a strong field, and he won it impressively. Now, he had a little bit of a dip after that where he missed a few cuts, but he's come back to form in recent weeks. His best 2 performances since then have actually been at the Players' Championship, where he finished 9th, and the Masters, where he finished 12th. Now, they're the 2 events since the start of 2021 where scoring has been at its hardest. And scoring's going to be hard again this week. So we know when the scoring is hard, he rises to the occasion. Very solid player. And again, another one that likes Pete Dye courses. I think that's a correlation certainly worth taking notice of. And if you have a ratch around the internet, you will find some great stats on who's done well in the Pete Dye courses. He seems to like these greens as well. I just think there's a lot of trends pointing in the direction of Siwoo Kim, and I really think he's the wrong price. Out of the 4, I think he's the most wrong price in my opinion. As I say, 110 to 1, 8 places, ticks a lot of boxes. He'll do for me.
Well, Pieman, we're getting to the point of each week what we call the Pieman bomb, which is usually the biggest price selection. So selection number 4, Pieman, fire away.
Well, we've got, I think they're all kind of bombs this week. Maybe we could say we had 3 bombs, and this is like a detonation almost, because this is 150 to 1, 10 places. I mean, this is getting to a point in the market where most punters won't even reach when they scroll through the market. They've made the decision long before they get into these realms.
I've got some bad news for you though. That the supply that's 10 places has gone 125. So I think you should switch to the 11 places supplier that is also 125, Pieman.
That's all right then. We'll stick the 11 places 125. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. That's a little bit of a blow, but I mean we have gained a place, and that could be the place that gets us in the end. So this is Brandon Grace, 125. We're now going with 11 places at Sky. Now, this is a guy I am really keen on, and some people would call me nuts for this because Brandon Grace's best days could arguably be behind him. He's a former serial winner on the European and the World Tours. Kind of fell off a cliff, to be honest, 2019, 2020.
Well, you don't want to be falling off cliffs on this course.
This is not a one to fall off a cliff, but yeah, a horrid run through 2019 and 2020. A number of miscuts, general struggles with his game. He looked lost, to be honest. But I do think that's behind him now.
I need some positives, Pieman. There's a lot of negatives.
Well, I'm just setting you up for why he's this price and why he's in this part of the market. It's not the Brandon Grace that we once knew. However, I think it's important to summarise at this point, the Brandon Grace that we did once know was someone who's won, in his career, has won 13 events, albeit some in South Africa, some on the European Tour, 2-time winner on the PGA Tour as well. So, very capable player. Is he a past it player? Not for me. He's made the cut in 8 of his last 9 tournaments. So he's doing better than half the field in 8 of the last 9 tournaments. That suggests to me he's still very competitive, still very capable. Now, he actually won an event very recently on the PGA Tour. Caveat to that, it was a second-rate event. So they had a main event, and then they had the Puerto Rico Open, which is a lesser field, shall we say, but he still won the event. He turned up and won. That was his first win in a long time. He had to finish eagle birdie to win that by a stroke. So it was a really impressive finish. Now, after that win, and it was a very emotional win for him, his first in some time, he spoke about in the interview afterwards how he'd had big doubts about losing his game. He was starting to doubt everything, fall out of love with golf a little bit. He lost his father to coronavirus in January. Very sad. He spoke about that. He said it'd been an extremely tough period in his personal life as well, and that this win was a really inspirational moment for him. It made all that sort of grafting and carrying on with his golf worthwhile. He's spoken a lot about family. I feel like that's been a tough period for him, being away from his family and stuff. Well, he got that win. I think he's in a much better headspace with things. I noticed that this week he's coming out. He's flown his entire family out with him to South Carolina. He's also flown his coach out with him. It's the first time his coach has been allowed to be on course with him since, well, nearly 2 years because of coronavirus. But, coming from South Africa, he's been traveling alone. He referenced family a lot in his interview. It suggests to me he's found the separation element quite hard. It's a bit of a psychological play, this. I think he's back in a good place with his game. Now, the big, big plus for me, the one that really reels me in, is he's a fantastic wind player. I think maybe the best wind player around, Brandon Grace. If he still is where he was when I last saw him competing in tough conditions, I've got absolutely no fears about him at this course. I think he could just go under the radar. I'm hoping he's going to rock up on Thursday and post something towards the top of that leaderboard and just hang around like a bad smell. That's where I see Brandon Grace get that good start, and everyone's waiting for him to drop off, and he just hangs there and hangs there. Never looks like winning, but just finishes 8th. And that'll do me because honestly, 125, we're getting 25 to 1 for a top 11 finish. It's a 25 to 1 runner to finish in the places. Now, I think that's the wrong price. I do. So yeah, Brandon Grace 125 is my last.
Well, you've convinced me, Pieman. You've convinced me, and hopefully, you do land one this week. So we'll just run through the 4 selections. It's going to be 1 point each way. So there's going to be 8 points staked this week on the Doubles and Trebles spreadsheet from Pieman. Firstly, we're on Matt Fitzpatrick 50 to 1, 11 places. Then we're on Joaquin Niemann 50 to 1, 11 places. Then we're on Siwoo Kim 110 to 1 for 8 places. That's slightly different places.
Came in for 9th.
Yep. And then we're on Brandon Grace 125 to 1, 11 places. Pieman has made strong cases for all 4 of these players. We're going to let him have 4 selections this week, given it's a major and given that the enhanced place terms are on offer. So, Pieman, very best of luck to you. Which one would be your strongest selection? I know we're 1 point each way. That's our standard practice at Doubles and Trebles. But which one, if you had to have one, which one would it be, Pieman?
As you could tell, I'm emotionally invested in all of this. But I would say, I think I said it at the time, I think the one that's the wrong price is Siwoo Kim, 110. I mean, I thought he should be more towards 66. I think it's quite a big value play, to be honest.
Great stuff. Well, there you go, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon, and very best of luck. Cheers.
Good luck. Cheers.